Well, Europe's climate monitor has confirmed that 2024 was the warmest year on record. It was also the first calendar year more than 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. The threshold, scientists warn, significantly increases the impacts of climate change. One place badly affected by extreme weather is Brazil, which is reeling from one of the worst droughts in its history. It's been especially difficult for farmers. DW visited one cattle breeder in the northeastern state of Bahia to learn how the lack of rain has impacted him and the steps he must take to keep his animals alive.
These cows are not supposed to look like this. Emaciated, with their ribs showing. They are the victims of one of Brazil's worst droughts in living memory. Here in the northeastern state of Bahia, farmers are worried about the extreme weather and its impact on their herds.
The cattle suffered a lot. What we mean by that is that they lost weight. They felt the drought. The drought was noticeable in a different way. This year was not typical. They lost a lot of weight.
The lack of rain affected the pasture on Kleber Denise's ranch. That in turn impacted the quality of feed that the cows need to thrive. Kleber feared some of the cows would not survive because of the lack of proper nutrition.
The worry is exactly that. The cows become weak, lay down and die.
Despite the challenge, Kleber has managed to get through the year without losing any cattle. But he realised, in order to avoid deaths during the next inevitable crisis, he needed to take action now. This involves creating as much food for the herd as possible by growing more crops, especially corn. But to do this, he needs to irrigate larger areas of his farm. And that costs money.
A lot depends on financial resources. If you have irrigation, then you are able to control the amount of water. So if, for example, it does not rain, then you can still guarantee the corn harvest. So we are spending money on irrigation, and that is not cheap.
Providing food during a drought looks likely to gobble up a large part of the budget of small farmers like Kleber for years to come. But facing down climate change is no mean feat. And Kleber says it's only by taking the right steps at the right time that he'll have a chance of keeping his herd alive and healthy.
All right, for more, let's bring in Sonja Vermeulen. She's with the Worldwide Fund for Nature International and the Hoffman Centre for Sustainable Resource Economy at Chatham House, joining us from Edinburgh. Good to see you, Sonja. I wonder if you can start by putting this into context for us. How big a problem is drought for global food security in 2025?
It's very serious. I mean, as you know, we've heard the news today. 2024 was the first year where we've breached the 1.5 C limit. And all over the world, we're seeing problems with drought on all 5 continents. In southern Africa, there are 30 million people at present in need of food aid due to drought impacts on their crop production.
Right, so you mentioned that last year was the hottest on record. With such a big jump for the planet, at least for now, it's past that major climate threshold of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. What does that mean, though, for the world's food production?
So what it means is that many places are facing a range of climate challenges to food production. So we've seen drought impacts on food in all 5 continents. We've also seen typhoons in the Philippines, Vietnam, southern China, of course, floods affecting countries everywhere, including Germany. And we're seeing these large wildfires across Canada and the US. So many countries are facing problems with crop production, but also with the welfare of their livestock and also with farm workers themselves. Many people working under very difficult, hot conditions, as well as seeing supply chain breakdowns due to some of these climate extremes.
And looking for silver linings, Sonja, can you tell us any more about perhaps what innovative solutions are being pursued, at least, to secure the world food supply amid these climate change and extreme weather events?
Yes. Well, the first part of the silver lining is that we're not yet seeing coordinated impacts on crop production. So by having diversified production around the world, so far we're managing to weather the worst of the storm. So, for example, with wheat production, the UK saw one of its worst harvests ever, down 22%. Germany was also down 6% on wheat. But other places, such as Brazil, had really good wheat harvests. So that is part of it. We do need to make sure that we're not relying just on one country or one place for our supplies, but looking more widely. Secondly, farmers themselves can undertake their own risk profiling. We'd recommend this for any farmers. Gather together with others in the region, look at what your key risks are and how to manage them. They could be different in different places. And sometimes that comes with actual opportunities. You know, we're seeing crops being able to be grown in places due to warming, being able to move further north, for example. So there are opportunities that go with the failures that we're seeing as well.
And with those opportunities, we are, though, facing massive challenges, obviously, and time seems to be ticking down. What's your call to action at this point when you look at how climate change is accelerating? What needs to be done to address it now?
Well, one of the things that we do need to grab hold of is that agriculture does need to be managed differently to reduce its own impacts on climate change. We've seen farmers struggling with some of the proposals that they need to move out of, for example, subsidised fossil fuels or subsidised fertilisers. But these kinds of environmental programmes will be very important if we're going to avoid the other set of costs, which is lots of food shortages and price rises for consumers around the world. So for governments do need to put a lot of effort into supporting farmers and consumers through the kinds of transitions that we need to more intensive farming that also has a lower impact in terms of fossil fuel and fertiliser use.
Sustainable resources expert Sonja Vermeulen, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.